My wife said she was selling luxury homes. Turns out, she was living a double life with 6 fake identities. When I sold the house out from under her, she asked me what I was doing. I said, finishing the sale you started. Then I watched her disappear in the rearview mirror. Maya always looked the part. Crisp white blazers, tailored pencil skirts, nude heels that clicked confidently on every polished floor she walked. A Louis Vuitton tote swinging from her arm, always filled with color-coded folders and a sleek MacBook she rarely opened. She smelled like citrus and ambition, and she moved like a woman who had plans. And she said she was a realtor. To everyone who asked, Maya was a top-tier residential consultant, specializing in high-value properties in the city. She rattled off neighborhood stats and market trends with glossy confidence. She had the car, the wardrobe, the attitude. To me, her husband of 6 years, she was successful, driven, and just a little mysterious about her day-to-day. Her hours were strange. She'd be out until 10 p.m. on a Tuesday for a client dinner or disappear early Sunday mornings for back-to-back showings. But I didn't question it. In fact, I admired it. She hustled. Or so I thought. We met in the airport lounge 6 years ago. I was flying back from a tech conference in Seattle. She was heading to a networking event in Miami. She asked me for a phone charger. I asked if she liked bourbon. 2 drinks and 1 delayed flight later, we were swapping stories like old friends. Within a year, we were married. She never pushed for access to my accounts. She never bragged about big sales. She lived comfortably, but modestly. The money we spent came from my software consulting work and the occasional bonus. Maya never asked for more. I appreciated that. Until the Mercedes. It arrived on a Wednesday. A sleek, obsidian black Mercedes-Benz CLS parked outside our home like it had been teleported from a dream. The delivery driver had no name for who signed for it, only an envelope addressed to Maya from a law firm uptown. "Excuse me," I said, catching him before he stepped back into his van. "Where's this from?" "Estate transfer, sir. Listed under a Mr. Franklin Whitaker. I was told the vehicle is registered to Mrs. Maya Sutherland." I blinked. "Franklin Whitaker died 2 months ago." The driver nodded, clearly used to awkward conversations. "I just deliver, sir." "Sorry for your loss." "Loss?" I barely knew the guy. Maya said he was an elderly client she'd helped downsize. Sold his townhouse, found him a cozy condo in Florida. The only thing I'd ever seen was his name pop up on her calendar. Nothing more. Inside the envelope was a brief letter. Per the last will and testament of Franklin Whitaker, the enclosed property 2020 Mercedes-Benz CLS is hereby transferred to Maya Sutherland in recognition of her kindness and care during his final years. Kindness and care? I stood on the porch staring at the car, my fingers tightening around the letter like it might dissolve in my grip. The sun glinted off the chrome, and in the reflection, I caught a glimpse of myself, mouth slightly open, brows furrowed, heart sinking. That car didn't feel like a gift. It felt like a red flag on 4 wheels. When Maya came home that evening, she barely looked surprised. She let out a soft "oh," smiled, and said, "Frank always said he was going to do something silly like this." "You never mentioned he was that close," I said. She shrugged, brushing a kiss against my cheek. "He was lonely. I was just kind to him." But the way her hand gripped the key fob as she walked past me? That wasn't casual. That was ownership. And it was the beginning of everything unraveling. After the Mercedes, I started noticing more details I'd once brushed off. Maya's new Apple Watch, the one I didn't buy. Her spa receipts from places way above our budget. Lunches at 5-star restaurants listed on our shared credit card, always under vague entries like client meal. But it was the iPad that changed everything. She'd forgotten it in the bathroom one night. Left it plugged in, screen still glowing. I didn't go looking. It was just there. And curiosity is a sick, seductive thing when trust is already limping. I tapped open the home screen. Nothing unusual, calendar, notes, the Zillow app. But there was this innocuous little folder labeled planner. Inside, it was anything but. A hidden vault. Password protected. But Maya had never been good with security. Our anniversary, 0924. 4 digits and I was in. Photos. Dozens. Screenshots of texts. Cash App transfers. Bank statements. A folder titled Gifts. Pictures of jewelry, receipts from Saks, a handwritten note on 4 Seasons letterhead, to the woman who made me feel 25 again, Ralph. Different names. Different men. And in every message, she wasn't Maya Sutherland. She was Mia. Or Mel. Or sometimes just baby. You always know how to make me feel special. I can't wait to see you again, sweetheart. Don't forget the red dress. Let's do next weekend at the lake house. My stomach churned. I couldn't stop reading. Some were borderline romantic. Others were crude. Transactional. She was careful with her wording, never too explicit, but it was clear. Maya wasn't selling homes. She was selling herself. And she was damn good at it. Older men. Wealthy. Lonely. She kept them rotating. Kept their secrets. Played the roles. Some even believed they were the only one. And I? I was the roommate. The background character in her long con. I closed the iPad, stood in the hallway, and stared at the wedding photo on our wall. Me in a gray tux. Her in ivory lace, eyes locked on mine like I was the only man in the world. A performance, I realized. Like everything else. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. The following days were a masterclass in pretending. Maya would come home late, all smiles, humming to herself as she dropped her keys in the bowl by the door. Long day. The Hendersons are dragging their feet on that condo in Midtown, she'd say. I'd nod, kiss her forehead, and offer to pour her wine. Inside, I was boiling. Not with rage. Rage is loud. This was colder, something calculated. Focused. The iPad had opened the floodgates, but I needed more. Evidence. Not just for my own sense of justice, but for whatever came next. She'd crossed a line I didn't know existed. I wasn't going to scream or cry. I was going to document. I started small. Her phone, always close but never locked. I learned her passcode months ago when she asked me to call her mom while she was driving. She never changed it. It started with the contacts. Mr. R, J. Bianchi, Franklin W. Lux each had custom emojis, odd spacing, and were all assigned to Do Not Disturb status. I took screenshots of every message thread. Some were short and flirty. Others were lengthy arrangements. Pickups, transfers, weekends away. I booked the suite again, same as last month. Don't forget to wear that little necklace I like. Did you get the deposit? Should clear by Tuesday. One even included a scanned copy of a hotel reservation under a fake name. She used different email aliases, but the paper trail? It was there. I set up a hidden camera in our home office. Motion triggered, disguised in a vintage clock I ordered from Amazon. Maya spent hours in there on her laptop, laughing softly into her headset. She always said she was coaching new agents. The footage told a different story. She was running consultations. But not for houses. For herself. She'd coach new friends, women likely in on the sugar baby game, on how to screen clients, how to dress, how to set boundaries without losing income. Smile, but not too much. Let them think they're in charge. Never discuss your husband, or your real last name. And always keep a burner card. Burner card. I paused the video, rewound it, watched again. That night, when she was asleep, I found it. Hidden behind the cutlery drawer, a slim green debit card tucked in a mint Altoids tin. The name? Melanie Starr. MS. Every time I peeled back a layer, another one emerged beneath it. This wasn't a side hustle. This wasn't a moment of desperation. This was a business. A lifestyle. A carefully curated persona designed to harvest trust, affection, and money. And I was just decor. I started collecting it all. I had folders, physical and digital. Password-protected drives. Cloud backups. I even kept a journal. Not for feelings. For details. Where she went. Who she mentioned. What she wore when she came home glowing with satisfaction. And the patterns began to form. Fridays were her big client days. She always wore red. Tuesdays were spa days, but only after lunch, following her therapy appointment. She always returned with a different fragrance clinging to her clothes. Every 14th of the month, she made a deposit at the Chase Bank across town. Never the one near our house. I became her shadow without her even realizing it. And through it all, I never raised my voice. I never let on. I smiled, nodded, made love to her when she reached for me, kissed her goodbye when she left for her fake showings. I had one goal now. Let her keep dancing. Let her keep performing. Let her think she still owned the stage. Because when the curtain dropped, I was going to burn the whole theater down. The obituary was clean, respectful, and vague. Franklin Whitaker, 76, passed peacefully in his sleep. No wife, no children. A successful retired engineer, lover of chess and scotch, devoted supporter of local artists. A life well lived. Maya wore black that day. She didn't cry, not even a little. She didn't mention inviting me to the service either. Said it was just for close friends. I stayed home and watched from the spare car's dashcam. I had parked it near the entrance of the chapel. The timestamp showed her arriving in heels and pearls, stepping out of the Mercedes, holding a single white rose. Alone. Confident. Poised. The footage showed her hugging a much older man, kissing his cheek. Then another. 2 women came next. There were only a dozen people there. Maya was the youngest by at least 30 years. And she stood at the center. After that day, she was different. Calmer. Smug, even. Her nights out grew shorter, her lies less elaborate. She started talking about maybe cutting back on work, spending more time on her writing. I didn't ask questions. But I started making calls. Franklin had a lawyer, a gentleman named Wallace Pryor. I made an appointment under the pretense of finalizing my own estate planning. Friendly, casual. A man who liked to be prepared. His office was as old money as they come. Mahogany everywhere. Art that looked like it hadn't been touched since the Reagan era. Mr. Pryor was sharp. Polished. Curious. Sutherland, he asked, flipping through a manila file. Any relation to Maya Sutherland? My wife, I replied, letting the word land flat. Ah, he said, raising an eyebrow. Wonderful woman. I worked with her during Mr. Whitaker's transition. She told me she helped him with housing. Yes. More than that, actually. Quite a comfort to him in those final months. Comfort? He hesitated. Forgive me, I assumed you knew. Your wife was named in Mr. Whitaker's will. Not just the car. A few personal effects. And an honorarium. An honorarium? Monetary appreciation. I leaned in. How much? He pursed his lips. I can't disclose exact figures without her consent, but substantial. Did he have family? No one close. Which made his friendship with Maya quite poignant. I nodded. And smiled. Of course. He offered me a neat printout of standard estate paperwork. I took it, thanked him, and left the building with my hands steady and my stomach full of acid. Substantial. I didn't need to see her accounts to know what had happened. Franklin wasn't just a client. He was one of her investments. A long play. She had inserted herself into his life, earned his trust, and positioned herself as his comfort and caretaker in his final days. All while lying beside me at night. That evening, I watched her sit on our couch, legs tucked under her, sipping herbal tea and reading a novel she'd never finish. She looked so small. So sweet. As if she hadn't just inherited money for being a professional illusion. I went into the study and opened a new file. Asset Trails, Whitaker. I noted everything. Car. Will. The lawyer. Her dress at the funeral. Names on the guest list from the dashcam footage. Every piece of her con was becoming clearer. More structured. And I finally understood what I was up against. This wasn't a woman who slipped. This wasn't an affair. This was a career. And I was her alibi, her stage prop, the man she pointed to in passing to prove she was legitimate. But she forgot one thing. Props don't stay silent forever. After Whitaker, Maya slowed down. Fewer late nights, fewer client calls. But she didn't stop, not completely. She still dressed for war every Friday evening, still carried that slim clutch with the gold clasp, and still applied perfume like armor. But something shifted in her smile. It got lazier, like someone who's already won. That was her mistake. I spent the next 2 weeks quietly preparing. I contacted a real realtor, a friend from college who owed me a favor. I got the house appraised, discreetly. She thought I was at work late, debugging code. I was signing paperwork. Here's what Maya forgot, I handled our finances. Years ago, we refinanced the mortgage and she signed off without question. The house had been moved fully into my name to improve our credit. She never noticed. Never asked. Didn't care. So I made my move. One Tuesday morning, she left early for her usual closing meeting. I waited exactly 20 minutes, then called my agent. List it. By Friday, the sign was up. A bold red and white for sale staked into our lawn, complete with a QR code and the words private showings only. When Maya pulled into the driveway that night, she didn't notice at first. She was too busy on her phone, laughing into the screen, engine still running. But then she looked up. She stopped laughing. The car door opened slowly. She stepped out, stared at the sign like it was written in another language. I was in the kitchen, waiting. She walked in without saying a word. What is that? She finally asked. A sign, I replied. For the house. It's for sale. You can't do that. I already did. She looked rattled. Pale. That composed, elegant mask started to crack. You didn't even talk to me. You didn't talk to me when you became half a dozen other women. When you took money from men who thought you loved them. When you let me build a life around a lie. She opened her mouth, then closed it. For once, she had nothing ready. Maya, this house is mine. The bank says so. The paperwork says so. You should pack. Showings start next week. She laughed then, brittle and sharp. You think this is over? I didn't answer. Because I wasn't done yet. This wasn't revenge. This was step one. Maya didn't explode. She didn't scream or sob when she saw the for sale sign in front of the house she thought she ruled. No. That wasn't her style. Maya was far too polished, too strategic. She played a longer game. Her reaction came in waves of subtle, passive charm, sweetness with a serrated edge. The next morning, she made my coffee just the way I liked it. Oat milk, half sugar, cinnamon on top. She hadn't done that in years. She left me a note beside the mug, we need to talk. I love you. No signature. No explanation. I didn't respond. That night, she cooked. Lavender roast chicken. Roasted garlic potatoes. Candles. Wine. She wore the red dress, the one I now knew had meaning beyond what she told me. It was the dress from her sugar baby persona. I'd seen it in the screenshots, draped across hotel beds. In selfies with old men grinning beside her. I just want to talk, she said gently. Then talk. She sat down across from me. Poised. Composed. She tilted her head and offered a practiced frown. I know I haven't been present. I know you're hurting. I said nothing. You blindsided me, she continued, her voice cracking just enough to sound real. The house? Without talking to me? I finally looked at her. You were never going to talk to me. You built a whole other life behind my back. She folded her hands tightly. That was a mistake. But it wasn't about you. Then what was it about? The money? The attention? The thrill? I felt invisible, she said. You work late. You're always distracted. I needed to feel something. I leaned forward. So you lied. Stole. Pretended to be someone else. Multiple someone else's. You let me build a future around a fantasy while you drained it. She didn't answer. Just stared at her wine glass. You don't get to call foul because I sold the house. You lost the right to be consulted when you stopped being my wife. She pushed her chair back and stood slowly. You're not the man I married. Exactly, I said. He's dead. You killed him the night you chose Franklin Whitaker over your own husband. She left that night. Said she was staying with a friend. I didn't ask who. While she was gone, I took back everything. Changed all my passwords. Logged out of joint accounts. Closed the ones in both our names. Spoke to a divorce lawyer and made it clear I wanted this clean. And fast. When Maya returned 3 days later, she looked different. Disheveled. Makeup smeared from exhaustion or tears she wouldn't admit. The fake warmth was gone. We need to talk, she said again. No, I replied. Now, you listen. This house will be sold. My name is on the deed. You have until closing to figure out where you're going next. You can't just erase me. You already erased yourself. I'm just making it official. She stood silent, eyes wide. And for the first time, I think she understood she'd lost. The final week in that house felt like a countdown to an execution. Every room buzzed with unspoken tension, and Maya barely spoke unless necessary. She stayed out late again, but this time, it wasn't for her fake real estate showings or secret rendezvous. No, now it was frantic damage control. I heard her on the phone in hushed tones, pleading, bargaining. I'd catch fragments of conversations. He knows everything. No, I didn't tell him about you. I just need a place for a while. She was scrambling. Floating in a panic she could no longer conceal. And I let her. I didn't offer comfort. I didn't ask questions. I simply waited, watching her unravel one measured step at a time. The house officially sold on a Thursday. I got the call around 2 p.m. My agent, Kitty. Papers signed, deposit cleared, keys to change hands the next morning. Maya was in the living room, pacing. Well, she asked, breath short. It's done. She stared at me, face pale. You really did it. I nodded. Tomorrow we're out. Where are you going? Does it matter? She opened her mouth, then closed it. That night, she tried one last time. Dressed up again. Lit candles. Made pasta. Poured wine. No music this time. Just silence. I know I hurt you, she said. But you're not perfect either. I didn't flinch. You built a life on lies. I loved you, she whispered. No. You loved what I provided. The house. The safety. The cover. I never meant to lose you. You never thought you would. We ate in silence. My last meal in that kitchen. After she went to bed, I walked through every room one final time. The place was spotless. Not because Maya cleaned, but because I made it that way. No trace of us remained. No photographs. No shared memories. Just walls and shadows. Before I left that night, I did one final thing. I left a manila envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside were two things, a printout of every screenshot I'd saved, every message, every bank transfer, every lie, and a note. You made a career out of pretending. Consider this your retirement package. I walked out without a sound. By the time Maya woke up, the movers were already arriving. My name was gone from the mailbox. The locks were scheduled to be changed by noon. She never chased me. Never texted. Never called. But a week later, a mutual friend reached out. Said Maya had moved in with her sister, was selling her designer bags one by one. I didn't care. I was already living in a quiet loft across town. Blank walls. A new bed. A sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. Maya once said real estate was about potential. That people buy dreams, not houses. I wonder if she still believes that now. Because she sold a dream. And lost everything real in the process.